Hello everyone, my name is Nicholas Reid from Reid Corporate, and on behalf of RareX Limited, ASX code REE, I'm very pleased to welcome you to this special investor webinar with the company's Managing Director, Jeremy Robinson. Well, rare earth prices have been on the rise this year and investor interest in the sector is surging. This is because it is highly leveraged to the rapidly growing green energy and EV sectors, because of their vital strategic role in a range of applications such as EV motors, consumer electronics, automotive parts, wind generation, and industrial electronics. As a result, there's never been a better time for new independent sources of rare earth supply to come on stream, particularly located in Tier 1 jurisdictions. RareX is advancing its flagship Cummins range rare earths project in the Kimberley region of WA towards development. A substantial carbonatite-hosted deposit, Cummins range already hosts a substantial resource of 18.8 million tonnes at 1.15% total rare earth oxide and 0.14% niobium oxide, including a high-grade component. Recent deeper drilling has identified primary high-grade mineralisation below the current resource, a potential game changer for the project, which could dramatically increase its scale. Jeremy joins us this morning from his hotel room in Perth, and he's going to update us on some of these exciting new developments at Cummins Range and the company's plans for 2022, including its recently released ESG Framework for the project and some important new additions to its project development team. Before we get underway, just a reminder to everyone listening in, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A tab on your webinar browser, and remember to send the questions in while Jeremy is presenting, so I have an opportunity to put them to him once he wraps up his PowerPoint. We'll get straight into it. Jeremy, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning, and we look forward to hearing what's going on at RareX.
Thanks very much for that introduction there, Nicholas, and thanks for hosting myself and RareX and providing this opportunity to update shareholders and potential shareholders in the exciting developments at Cummins Range over the past, most of this year we've been drilling, and just recently we've demonstrated as to why we've been drilling with our belief that there is high-grade potential beneath the oxide cap at our deposit, and we've very much proved that, and I think I'll be labouring on a few slides later in this presentation about what it means for our project and the potential that we see going forward into next year. There's our disclaimer. This presentation is hosted on the ASX and will be on our website very shortly, if not already, and that you can read that at your leisure. Look, the corporate snapshot, if you're familiar with the company, you're probably well familiar with my board. It's very well credentialed. John Young of Pilbara Minerals is the most qualified there in the industrial minerals space. Cameron Henry is a process engineer, founder of Primero Group, so brings a lot of capability to our growth plan and our plan to build this project out over the next few years. Nicholas introduced the fact that we've been growing our development team, and we've done that with James Durrant as our general manager projects there. Also beneath him there, we now have an in-house MET as well, and we rely on a lot of experts which I'll talk to in one of the later slides. Substantial shareholders, Simon Lee continues to increase his position there, very supportive of what we're doing. Cash and investments in our company, just over $5 million, so we're well funded for what we've achieved this year. Next year we'll be doing some more aggressive drilling, which can at least be partly funded by our cash and investments. And with a modest EV of 40 million, we think there's still a lot of upside left in our company. So I'll touch further on that as we go on. The investment overview, where we are in the world, we're a Cummins Range project located in the East Kimberley region of Western Australia, so Tier 1 mining jurisdiction. Very good area for mining and exploration as well. That resource there, the 18.8 million tonnes, including the higher grade 6.5 million tonnes, was the result of drilling in 2020. All the drilling we've been doing this year is on top of that. So we've got good scope to grow our resource and to fully understand what exploration potential is within our carbonatite deposit. Rare earth prices are very much on the up and up. We've been waiting for this to happen for some years now. RareX was founded in 2019 on this very view that we hadn't seen, that we could see what was coming in the rare earth market, and it's happening. It's here, and we believe it's here to stay. And also, we're well funded with our cash and investments to achieve on our goals. So rare earths and niobium, what are they and what are they used for? I'll assume some level of knowledge in this market. It's probably an area that wasn't known too well 2 or 3 years ago, but there seems to be increasing knowledge in this sector. But as Nicholas alluded to in the introduction, it's very much a story of the green economy. Rare earth permanent magnets are the primary use of rare earths. They're very useful in motors, in electric vehicles, and also in wind turbines, specifically offshore wind. And both these areas have compound growth rates, probably 10 to 20%. Very strong growth. This is going to lead to a shortage in supply, increase in demand, the things you want to hear in your commodity sector. Consumer electronics as well. There's all those sort of background uses as well, but primarily it's a story of EVs and wind turbines, offshore wind turbines. So we're very happy to be in this sector. We believe this is going to lead to a structural deficit, and I even see Lynas upping their growth forecasts in the most recent presentation. I think they've come up from a 6 or 7% compound annual growth rate expectation over this decade to a 10% compound annual growth rate expectation. And I can see why they believe that, and I think the market can see that as well. You can see that graph on the right there of NdPr prices. It's been a very strong year. It's been a very strong 2 years. Basically, since we founded the company, things have been moving in the right direction. NdPr prices are about $136 a kilo. There used to be a time when NdPr prices were $40 a kilo, and they stayed there pretty well. We've seen a sustained movement in prices. This is different to the last time rare earths peaked in about 2011. In that instance, it was a political incident which saw a spike from $40 to $280 a kilo, and it quickly came back down again over it was up in a matter of months and down in a matter of months. This time we've seen a sustained increase over a 24-month window. It may trade, my view is that the market's going to trade $120 to $150 a kilo for the next 12 to 24 months. And you haven't really seen the reflection in rare earth players' share prices. You may have seen it in Lynas moving up over $9, but our sort of share price is yet to run, and we believe it'll do so over the next 6 to 12 months. Worth talking about our ESG framework. This is something we put a bit of time into over this year. The ESG is very much, something you have to do to be investable by the institutions. It's something we want to do. It's something we do anyway. We've adopted the World Economic Forum framework there, and it's it's about the engagement with our communities. It's about looking after our planet and our people. And what I'd like to point out is that we already do a lot of this through our relationship with the Jaru people, being our traditional owners on the ground we operate. We contribute 3.5% of our exploration funding to them every year. So this is something we apply to not only Cummins Range, but as to business as a whole. When we're assessing new projects, we assess them in the lens of our ESG framework as well. So, something we're very committed to, and something we'll continue to report against in terms of sustainability reports and whatnot in the years to come. Look, I will point out just quickly before I move off the ESG framework, this also points us to look at our entire supply chain in terms of where we're supplying our products. Initially, when we entered this business, it was very much a China-focused business. What this is pointing us to do, it's not to exclude China as a customer, but it's to look at the whole supply chain, whether we can supply more ESG-friendly jurisdictions as well. So it's really focused us to look at supply chains both onshore and the West, as well as those existing supply chains into China. So I talked on the resource at the start. This is the resource that we put out this year on the back of drilling in 2020. We were really, really happy with the resource increase. We got it up from 13 million tonnes to almost 19 million tonnes. So we increased the tonnes, we increased the grade, we increased the confidence. So this is really what you wanted to do. This is what's forming the bulk of our scoping study work at the moment. We also reported a niobium content to our resource for the first time. We believe niobium is a potential byproduct in this process. We haven't reported phosphate there, but phosphate is something that's increasingly of interest to us in this deposit. A lot of rare earth, carbonatite rare earth deposits host phosphate. We see zones up to 30-40% phosphate in this resource. You've seen fertiliser prices on the up and up as well. So something we will look at in terms of targeting a resource growth into the future. That basket price there, $34 a kilo, that was done at the time of the resource. Basket price, given the recent increase in NdPr prices, is closer to $50 a kilo. So economics are moving in our favour. Our basket price compares very well to Mount Weld with Linus. So we have this very similar NdPr content of about 22%. Theirs is about 24%. And the niobium price, $93 a kilo. That niobium price is remarkably stable. So it's a very good byproduct potential for us. To put our grade into context and why we're targeting that higher grade resource, and why you'll see why I think the results we're getting in the primary are very good. Our global resource of the 1%, sits in the middle of the pack. We want to try and move this to the left-hand side of this graph, which is the right side of the graph. 2% is where we're targeting. We have good NdPr, we have good niobium, we also have good heavies in terms of dysprosium and terbium. And 2% is what I'm targeting in the depth extensions as well. And you'll see we're getting that consistently with our drilling on some of our sections. So very good, very good. 2% is the target, and that's what we're working towards. So into what we've been doing this year and why we're getting more and more excited about this project. This is a plan section. A bit of context as to when we inherited this project, there wasn't a lot of geological understanding about what was going on. The historic thinking on rare earths, which is still right of most rare earth projects, but we took a different view on what's going on at Cummins Range. Historically, so what you see historically in rare earth projects is a deflationary sort of upgrading effect. The general rule of thumb is a 10-to-1 upgrading in the oxide on the primary. We took a view that this isn't the case at Cummins Range. We took a view that what you're seeing in the oxide is representative of what's going to be in the primary. We could see it in the chips. We could see some high-grade fault structures running basically where we put our vertical long projection. And I'll show you how we've proved that to be the case in the next few slides. What we've done this year is close to 6,000 metres of drilling, the RC drilling, and the first time we've done diamond drilling. So first time we've got some core to look at, which really helps us understand what's going on geologically, and it helps us target our ongoing drill program for resource growth and project growth as well. So this is the vertical long projection. This is what runs up and down the resource here. This explains very well what we thought was going on. You see the grey bit here. This is the oxide portion of a resource. It's something akin to a supergene part of a gold deposit. That was the traditional thinking. We believe that the primary is now wide open for exploration and exploitation. You see here, this is most of the historic resource was done in the top 100 metres, all these grey holes up here. The drilling we've done this season is these diamond holes at depth. So the almost 20 million tonnes that we've reported to date hangs in the top 100 metres of this resource. We've done some drilling in the next 100 metre window, and we've proven it's there. Carbonatites, by their very nature, are very, very vertically extensive. So we believe the potential of this deposit is vastly increased with the resource and the drilling we've done this year. So we're in the process of, over the summer, once we get all our results back, we'll be in the process of seeing what we think the exploration target is here. And that's something we'll hopefully publish to the market over the coming months as an exploration target. So this is a cross section, and this shows you again what's been going on with the drilling. This base of oxidation, basically the resource, as I outlined before, that the almost 20 million tonnes was in this top 100 metres. We've intersected high-grade mineralisation, probably down to 250, 300 metres is our deepest hole there. This intersection here, which we haven't reported on yet, looks very good visually, and that's the deepest intersection we've had in the deposit to date. So potential to grow this resource is very much there. This is some of the drilling we have reported. CDX 63, which is a CRX 63, a initial RC hole, 40 metres at 2.4 and 0.5 niobium, including some higher grade. And the result we put out last week, which was really the most exciting result we've had to date on the project, 22 metres at 3.1% TREO, including 3 metres at 10.6% TREO. So this is a purely primary rare earth hit. Shows we got good width and outstanding grade in the primary. We seem to be encountering sort of stacked loads, something you're probably used to seeing in lithium deposits, Pilangurus, etc. They have these stacked spodumene loads. We seem to be having stacked rare earth loads here. And what this requires now is further drilling to grow the resource. And the more you get these loads stacked, the more your open pit starts to look more and more economic. So very happy with the drilling we're seeing, particularly on this section. Into the next section, just proof again that we can get, this is more in the guts of in the deposit where there's more sort of a breccia pipe coming up through. And here we also have, good grades and good widths. This hole crosses the oxide primary interface, but the bottom of the hole, the primary zone, had better grade than the oxide zone. So once again, proof that the primary is open and ready for drilling. Here we had some really good NdPr, 24%, and some really good niobium as well, up to 0.7%. So niobium grades globally, look, you probably need 0.4, 0.5 for a niobium deposit to work as a standalone niobium grade. So when you're getting these grades as attendant potential byproduct grades, they're really encouraging and really good for us to look at as economic drivers. So the study work, look, that's what we did with the drill rig. I should point out, if I go back to this slide here, we've only released 5 holes out of our 20-hole program, the diamond program. So plenty more drilling to come. Plenty more results from drilling to come. The drill rig has gone away for this year as it rains. We'll be back out there in late March, early April, hopefully with a couple of diamond rigs for 2022, proving the size of this resource up. I believe this resource has potential to get to 50 plus million tonnes now. On what we've seen, just requires more drilling, and that's something we'll get on with next year. So still lots of news to come over the next couple of months from the drilling that we did this year. And then we'll be back out there as soon as we can next year with multiple drill rigs really hitting this project hard. So the study work that we've done and we are doing, we've appointed all the experts that you need. These are the best in class for rare earths. Gavin Beer is our consultant. Primero doing the cost estimation. All the way through there, you can see our list of consultants that we're using. We're planning to deliver a scoping study in March of in the March quarter of next year. Most of that study work all of that study work is done on the oxide resource. We are doing some site test work on the primary resource, the fresh rock results, which we expect the metallurgy and processing of to be easier. So that may change our thinking on the scoping study. In fact, almost certainly will change our thinking on the scoping study. But at the moment, we're working through the scoping study on the oxide part of the resource to be released in the first quarter of next year. So we're fully funded to do this scoping work until we start drilling next year. So look, we're very confident we have an economic proposition on our hands here, and I think the scope and scale of this resource will continue to grow as we push out results from the drilling this year and also continue to drill it next year. So look, that's us in our quick 20-minute spiel. It's worth pointing out that, these are the highlights. I need to update 0.5 there. I apologise for that. But we've got a high quality resource project in WA here, which we're getting on the ground doing. We've done our resource upgrade. We've got the high grade mineralisation that we expected, which really changes the scope and scale of this resource. We've got a background of high rare earth prices, which should be supportive for the next few years at least. It's hard to see any supply coming in to fill the demand that's around. And since I put it there, our Cosmos spin out has just hit the boards this year. But very much RareX is a focused rare earth company. We continue to run a pretty active business development program as well. We're always looking at other projects, but at this point in time, we're very much focused on delivering on our Cummins range projects and the potential we believe it has. So that's us very quickly. I'll throw back to Nicholas as the moderator, and I'm here to answer questions. So thanks very much for listening.
Thanks, Jeremy. We do have quite a number of questions that have come through online. Before I go to those, just a couple of emailed questions we received before this webinar started. Firstly, a shareholder has asked if you could give us an indication of when you would update the resource based on the new drilling results you've been receiving, and also can you comment on the potential scale of the upside in respect of the high grade primary mineralisation?
Yeah, certainly. We're in the process of compiling our results from this year. Of course, we still haven't got all of them. That'll form the basis of a new geological model, and that'll form firstly the basis of an exploration target. Simplistically, you've seen 20 million tonnes in the top 100 metres. So every 100 metre panel we plan to drill out below that should add those sort of incremental tonnes. So I think I can hopefully see a 50 million tonne deposit sometime next year. Will we put out a resource on the results from this year? We're still having those internal debates, but very much I'll give you an exploration target on what I think the real upside is here. And that should be able to be done before we go drilling next year.
Excellent. One other email question. Can you please comment on the metallurgy of the primary high-grade zone?
So it's very much early days, but from what we're seeing visually, we expect the metallurgy to be quite good in the primary. You could just see massive blobs of monazite, browny grey monazite in white carbonatite. So we're even trying ore sorting, which has been quite successful in other rare earth deposits, Hastings and Vital. We expect ore sorting to work quite well, and that's a really good cheap way of upgrading your ore before you have to get into full-blown hydromet process. But yeah, simplistically, just by looking at it, we would expect good metallurgical performance in the primary. We're yet to confirm that, but it's something we're working on over the summer. So yeah, it should be good.
And just finally, how many more assays? This is the final email question. How many more assays would you expect to receive before Christmas? How many further announcements on the recent drilling?
Yeah, look, we've put out 5 holes of about 18 to 20 holes in the primary, so we've still got the bulk of it to come. We'll at least have one more round of assays out pre-Christmas. We might have 2. It depends how quickly they come through. But needless to say, we'll continue to have results all the way through until the back half of January. So no shortage of news flow, and by the time that's all out, it will be on the verge of drilling again in the new year. So yeah, there's still plenty of news to come.
Thanks, Jeremy. All right, we'll dive straight into the online questions. There's quite a few that have come through, so I'll probably have to jump around a bit from topic to topic, so apologies for this. But
no, that's the idea.
Firstly, Christopher Ellis says he's interested to hear about the Shanghai MOU.
Yeah, look, we still have our MOU in place with Shanghai. We are getting some pricing for them as part of our scoping study. Look, they've had a change in management at the top over the last 6 months, so the relationship probably hasn't fully developed as fully as I would have liked it to in the short order. but we still remain in good relations. We still have good contact. As I said, they're doing pricing for us on our scoping study. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Australian-Chinese relations have become more difficult, and is forcing us to explore other avenues, but we retain very good relationships with Shanghai, and in fact, they're helping us in our scoping study at the moment. So, yeah, still in very good shape.
Thank you, Jeremy. I've got a question here from Avni Bekarovsky. He says, when can shareholders expect to see some return for their investment? I guess the share price has traded sideways this year. Perhaps you could give us, your thoughts on when the potential uplift and sort of re-rate catalysts might come.
Yeah, look, I understand the question. We have traded pretty sideways around the 10-cent mark for most of this year. Look, I had expected to get a bit more appreciation out of from the share price in terms of the drilling results we delivered just recently. We'll continue to deliver those results, and hopefully we can break this range that we're in. Other than that, I think I've got to explain, and this is part of this webinar, is to explain to people what I think these results mean, and what the size of this project can certainly be now. It continues to be my job to get the share price up and away, and look, we'll continue to working on that. There's no clear answer I can deliver on to that question, other than we will continue to work hard for shareholders and deliver results. I think we've done that, and 2022 should be a good year. We'll continue to grow the resource. We'll put out some study work, and hopefully develop some strategic partners that can really show what we're trying to do.
Okay. Next question is from Christopher Ellis. A follow-up question. He says, in the ESG document, you suggest that the company is seeking to be a multi-mine primary producer. Can you share any insight on any further mining prospects? And in the ESG document, you mentioned downstream value chains. Can you provide any further insights on that, please?
Yes. Look, we do have aspirational goals to be a multi-mine rare earth producer. We're very much focused on Cummins range. You might note I'm in hotel quarantine now in Perth, so I'm often looking at new projects around the place. Don't have any immediate things to announce to the world on that, but we believe we can be a multi-mine producer. We've got a good anchor in Cummins range, but continue to run pretty active business development and out looking at projects all the time. In terms of the downstream capacity, I think as part of our ESG framework and our internal thinking, we choose to partner with downstream producers. We don't want to build, the full Lynas experience at this point in time. We think producing concentrates or carbonates is the right level for us to go to. The full rare earth oxide separation can be quite specialist, so we're looking to partner on those parts of the puzzle, and we're working to identify those parties at the moment, and that might be something we can talk more fulsome to in 2022.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Question from James Johnson: when is mining likely to begin? I guess it's a pretty big question, but can you give us a sort of a rough idea of the timeframes to production with these sorts of projects?
Very much depends what you're trying to do in rare earths. If you're trying to produce a concentrate or a carbonate like us, it's probably a concentrate we could produce in 2 to 3 years. A carbonate we could produce in 3 to 5 years. But if you want to separate all the way to oxide, that's a 5 to 10 year process. So we're focusing on the concentrate route initially, which you could see us in production in 2 to 3 years.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeremy. Now, there's quite a number of questions have come in on the Cosmos spin-off, and I do think it's important for us to address this. I've had a few questions that have come my way as well in terms of the way it's structured, the reasons you decided to do it, and the reasons it was structured in the way it was. where, as I understand it, RareX has received Cosmos shares and a free carry, I think, on the projects until the end of a feasibility study. One of the questions, for example, was, can you explain what would be considered an acceptable feasibility study? What would be acceptable to RareX shareholders? But can you just, because there have been a number of questions on this, would you mind just addressing the whole Cosmos spin-off?
Yeah, certainly. Look, the Cosmos spin-off listed last week, last Tuesday, I believe. We decided to retain our shareholding as RareX. We retain a 30% interest in that as a priority offer given to RareX shareholders, which was relatively well taken up, about $2 to $3 million by RareX shareholders, and the other $2 million was placed by Canaccord Genuity. So we raised $5 million in that. RareX itself retains that 30% shareholding in Cosmos, so highly leveraged to any success we have at either Biro East or Orange East. We also have a 25% free carry in the Orange East project. The question around what defines a positive BFS, look, that would be just it. Well, it very much means a positive BFS. There's no further clarity to that. Why we believe Cosmos needs its own life. It's a nickel copper PGE explorer. You're seeing the success of Chalice at Julimar. We believe we've got potential for that at Biro East, and we're on the ground there exploring that as we speak, running detailed soil sampling, and that's ahead of some detailed airborne EM in the new year. So that's the structure of Cosmos. We thought it was the right thing to do in terms of the market support was there to give it its own attention. RareX is a rare earth developer, which is a very specialist field. So yeah, we thought it was best to separate the assets.
Thanks, Jeremy. Speaking of investments, can you provide us with an update on the Kincora joint venture in New South Wales?
Look, I can update you what I know. They're still drilling. I've spoken to their MD this morning, Sam Spring. I believe there's some sort of update coming out this week as to what they've been drilling. I know they've been drilling extensively at Trundle and at Fairholme. We retain our 35% free carry in both those projects and a number of other projects, plus our 5% shareholding. Their share price has been under a little bit of pressure, but hopefully it will start regaining some ground on the back of some good news this week. I very much believe in what they're doing. They're looking for an elephant, and I believe they're getting close to it. They haven't quite speared it yet, but they're getting very, very close to it.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeremy. Just a couple more to wrap things up. Just looking forward into the first couple of quarters, maybe the first 6 months of next year, can you give us just a broad overview of, I guess, some of the key events and developments that we should keep an eye on with RareX?
Yeah, certainly. So look, the catalysts for next year are obviously continued drill results from the program we've undertaken this year. A scoping study in the first quarter of next year, and an expanded exploration target sometime in the next few months. And that should lead us into a really big drill program next year. So but we'll continue to grow this resource and grow this project. There's always opportunities for us outside this project in terms of strategic partnerships as well, and other assets that are out there. But we're very much focused on growing this resource and delivering an economic proposition to the shareholders next year.
Excellent. Look, I think that addresses most of the issues. If we haven't got to your question, please feel free to reach out to Jeremy or us here at Red Corporate. Jeremy, anything else you'd like to conclude with, just in terms of key takeaways?
Oh, look, I think RareX is very much due a re-rate. It's obviously been a bit of a sideways year's share price, but 2022, with all the positive news we plan to generate, I think it's been a success this year in terms of the drilling program. We proved the concept. We've got the numbers. So now it's about delivering on the promise of Cummins range and the company as a whole. So 2022. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good luck with your final week in hotel quarantine there, and we look forward to hearing further updates from you over the coming weeks and months. So thank you very much to everyone for joining us and for your questions this morning, and we look forward to keeping you up to date on all matters RareX in the year ahead. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you all.